Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, Opie had been in a relationship since September 2018, and the initial years were good. They applied for a de facto spouse visa at the end of 2020. However, issues arose, leading to them moving out for 6 months. He admits they were not very helpful with household chores. The partner worked in a mine and had a different standard of cleanliness. In April 2022, a breakdown occurred, and he started taking on more household responsibilities. Their relationship deteriorated further, and in September 2022, the author discovered their partner's infidelity. They decided to break up and split their assets. Now let's get into the story. We started dating in September 2018 on my birthday, so that day has always been extra special to me. My partner does roster work. She works 8 days on a mine site and is back 6 days off. I work a decent 9-to-5 job, so we are both pretty well off. She's also an international resident, so I decided to help her get her visa to stay. We applied for the de facto spouse visa at the end of 2020. For the first 3.5 years, our relationship was really good. We both loved each other and were doing so much together. Unfortunately, some clashes between her and my mom led to us moving out and renting a place for 6 months. She knew how to do everything. She's extremely independent, so she knew how to take care of a house and cooked really good food. I, on the other hand, was a bit of a dropkick and didn't know how to do any of that properly. My mom looked after me a bit too much, which handicapped me a lot when I moved out. While I was working every day and being very smart with our money, we never had any money problems. I was also a bit selfish as a 23-year-old who tended to spend a bit too much time at the computer and away from household chores. I did make sure I spent some time with her, though. We watched some good shows like Game of Thrones, Money, Heist, and Merlin. I did, however, clean enough to ensure we got 100% of our bond money back. I did all the de-weeding by hand. After our 6-month lease was finally up, we bought a place together. This was around September 2021. She started her mining job around December 2021, and I, still being a dropkick, didn't do much of the housework, although I did learn to cook some dishes, as I needed to make sure I kept myself fed whilst she was on site. But I still didn't do the laundry or vacuum and mop the floor because my standard of cleanliness was so much different from hers. Instead, I spent my time learning how to invest because she told me she wanted to make a lot of money. I designed an investment plan just to suit her. I enjoyed investing a lot, cleaning not so much come April 2022, and she broke down in her bedroom at my lack of help around the house. She told me she was incredibly stressed with having to come back and do all the housework after 8 long days on the mine site. At that stage, I finally woke up and became the adult I should have become long ago. I started vacuuming and mopping the whole house once a fortnight and doing the laundry every week, making sure she had an empty basket to work with. When she came back, it was like a switch was flicked on in my head. I should also mention that sex was non-existent in the last year of our relationship. She didn't want to take the pill due to side effects, although she was on it periodically for the first 3 years and we had 6. Then I went to buy a pack of condoms, but then she went and hid the condoms when we were about to have 6. So I just refused to have 6 with her because I didn't want to have unprotected 6 and risk pregnancy. She even suggested that I take the male version of the pill that would make my sperm infertile or something. I don't even know what she was on about there. I kept up my routine, making my own lunches and maintaining the house while she was away. I finally became an adult that could survive on my own. But the relationship didn't seem to improve slowly over time. She stopped cooking for me and didn't like me touching her in bed. She also gave me her cheek for kisses instead of her lips looking back. These were all red flags. But I was blinded by love and my desperation to save the relationship. I kept up with the cleaning and maintenance. She even went back on the pill to balance her hormones, or so she claimed. I tried initiating sex with her again at that point, but she refused. And then came September 17, 2022. I was mopping the floor in my computer room and couldn't use it because the floor was wet. I went to use her laptop instead and saw everything in Messenger. She had been in a casual but intimate relationship with a man on the Mind site a little younger than me. The text messages were extremely explicit. I saw they had this going on since late July. I couldn't go any further back because I was about to throw up. I confronted her about it that night, and she told me she had been extremely stressed with work and had fallen out of love. I didn't understand she loved me when I was a total drockic. Then all of a sudden I became this mature and capable adult. But she didn't love me anymore. I was a total wreck for the next week and couldn't sleep well. I decided to call things off with her. I cannot be with someone who commits infidelity. We are going to split up our assets and go our separate ways. She told me she wants to remain friends, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Nor do I think that's a good idea for either of us. This also has implications for her visa. She is currently on her temporary visa until the end of November this year. At which point we were supposed to sign off on some documents so she could get her permanent residency. I told her I refused to sign any documentation as I basically would have to lie, which could get me sent to jail along with a big fine. She may still be able to get her permanent residency if the department decides to award it to her. But she is at a much greater risk of having to go back to a student visa, which means she will lose her mining job along with her life savings of having to enroll in some course she doesn't want to complete, and pay international student fees, which are bloody expensive, along with wasting years of her life just to progress her spouse visa. All for nothing. Despite the harm she has inflicted on me, I hope she gets her permanent residency. It doesn't affect me either way whether she gets it or not. But at this stage I have no influence over it because I have already withdrawn as her sponsor. I cried multiple times in front of multiple people. I cried because the vision I had of us being together with our many successes around us is now impossible. I cried because I was forced to make decisions that would either harm myself while benefiting her or harm her while benefiting myself. I cried as I entered the empty and dark house after work was done, knowing that she was living with her friends and I was alone. I will be moving back to my parents in a few months. It makes no economic sense to stay out here on my own without a partner. Today's second story. In this story, OP initially planned to marry a woman you met online, both sharing a commitment to avoid dating due to your Muslim beliefs. However, she changed her stance, revealing she had been in a secret relationship with another man. She manipulated you emotionally, causing you considerable distress, including overdose scares. Your relationship has been marked by deception and uncertainty, and it's imperative to prioritize your well-being. Seeking guidance from a professional therapist or counselor is advisable to navigate this complex and emotionally challenging situation and determine the best course of action for your future. Now let's get into the story. Here's a little context first. We both are currently university students in the same year doing the same degree. Let's start from the beginning. I met my now wife online last year when everything was online and we started talking mainly over text messages. This type of conversation went on for a few months and eventually, I realized I had developed a connection and love for her that I had never felt in my life. I asked her if she would consider getting married as we are both Muslim and don't want to date. We did not, and after talking for a month or two more approached our parents about the idea of marriage. Both sides of the family were instantly open to the idea. For context, I had moved out of Canada recently to Europe for various reasons and she knew this and loved the fact that I had done this and wanted to join me. All throughout this time, she always emphasized the importance of being mutually exclusive and not talking to or even considering other partners for marriage. I held on to this idea really fondly and ensured I never did anything to betray that. She was also very keen on the past I had when I was 15. I was not intimate with anyone but got close at that age and everything ended soon after I was 17. There were two people. She knew this and it was a somewhat big deal that I had this past. I asked her about her past and she said she had never even talked to a guy as much as she had with me, despite people wanting her in various ways, prom, dating, etc. Fast forward 7 months and I was on my way back to Canada where I was born and grew up, to meet her and hopefully marry her and complete my education. She abruptly started messaging me with no context that we shouldn't do it and with no reason provided, just started ghosting me and pushing me away. I was too busy in my own life, as planned and known to both of us, to give my full attention in May this year, so I was unable to take further action at that time. Soon I arrived in Canada and paid her a surprise visit at our school. She instantly started shaking and crying and gave me an interesting story as to why she couldn't marry me. She said that I must understand and leave her, although I can't detail what was mentioned. She needed to travel with her friends to the United States and run away to live a dream life she couldn't have if she stayed in Canada with her family. I found this to be extremely painful and pushed her to talk to me to no avail for a few days. After 3 days we met again. She started making sexual advances on me and I gave in. Although we were not intimate, it was clear the path we were headed on. All throughout this time she was extremely volatile. She knew how I felt for her and continued to meet with me. Although we were meeting, she said we couldn't get married and that there was no way it would work. On the same day, she might also start imagining our married life together all in that time. There was one of her male friends she wanted to travel with who kept calling and texting her, and it caused her a great deal of stress, as it seemed to me. For context, she would marry him so that she felt safer with him while traveling with her group of friends. This guy was in America, by the way, and that was the place they wanted to start their travel adventures and eventually roam the world. Despite how crazy the situation was, I pushed and shoved her to convince her to marry me. Eventually, our parents met and everyone was extremely happy with the people we had brought. We had multiple family meetings that went amazingly and nothing was wrong, except that after each one would talk to her and she would say she felt like she was in an extremely bad place, etc. Eventually, we did get intimate, and to me it was the first time I had done that, and she said it was also her first time doing anything. One time when we were together this way, right? As soon as we finished, she cried really hard and didn't say why. She felt weird. All in all, an interesting few months. Fast forward again to the week we were getting married. She had me running around for her passport on the story that her sister needed medical help and she needed to travel with her to America for her specialized surgery. I was running around for both her and her sister's passports. During that week, we also went out together to get a dress for my mother, as she wanted her future mother-in-law to look the best she could. At our wedding the next day, which was a day before we got married, she called me in the morning and told me that her mom was really pushing her and was mean to her and that she couldn't take it. She overdosed on Tylenol. I took her to the hospital and got her checked out, and luckily with just some medication, she was okay. Her family found out and was furious, but no one could do anything as the wedding was the next day. On the day of the wedding, I received many different versions of her. Sometimes she was extremely happy and counting down the minutes. Other times she said that she wished she had died or had gone with her friends. Anyways, we got married that evening and everything was perfect. I was extremely happy and relieved, and she said she was the same. Soon after, things started coming up that had me on edge. She often talked about how she felt bad for what she did. Before we got married, she still looked at and opened chats with these friends regularly. She had seemingly deleted everything, but had this Google Doc with this guy she was going to marry and checked it too many times per day. I have caught her doing it in front of me. It was always talked off as just a dream of traveling she had. She said that she was just an organizer, so she felt bad. I was always comforting her on this. Besides the few times I tried to confront her about it. Eventually, I got curious and started snooping. I logged onto her old accounts and scanned through her laptop. She was resistant at first, but gave me permission to check her laptop and socials. However, I was not allowed to open certain chats, which included that man and a chat to herself. Soon I did go behind the curtain. I did that and realized that everything had been a lie. She had been in a relationship with the guy alone for 4 years. Even while talking to me, she was in a relationship with him. There were no travel plans. All that was a cover story for her wanting to run away from her family and live with him in America. I always told her I needed honesty in my relationship and that if she had a past, that would be okay as long as I knew and chose to accept it. Additionally, I found evidence which pointed to her not being Muslim and having serious issues with Islam, which was a big deal to me. The time in May when she random stopped talking to me was actually her meeting with him in person. He flew from America to see her and they went to a hotel and she was intimate with him. Additionally, all throughout the time we were talking, she would send nudes and text and have Zoom 6 with him. The day I came to see her in school was the same day. Surprisingly, That she saw him off to the airport that day, although I did not know it at the time. She was even wearing his hoodie. In the chats I saw she had talked badly about me and my family and cursed the fact that I was Muslim with him. I saw stories she told me, but they were different. She mentioned a dream to me where I chased after that man and killed him, but she told him the same dream but that he chased after me and killed me, etc. All stuff that showed she was playing both sides. The passport she made me run for was actually so she could run away with him. I saw a text from the day of our wedding that said she only ever loved him and would never love anyone like that again. She swore that she hadn't talked to him since we got married, but one day I opened her laptop and there were 2 messages from him to her. I confronted her and it turned out that she thought she had blocked him but was using his chat as a diary, apparently stuff like "I can't believe how much peace I felt there. I have all this evidence saved on my devices hidden from her. I am constantly giving her hints that I need honesty and that she should talk to me. She said she is an INTP, so she does not like sharing, but also said she has shared everything with me. She said and maintains that I was her first true love and intimate partner. Every time I try confronting her, she somehow emotionally manipulates me into leaving it and pushing it away. Since we got married I have had 3 overdose scares after arguments. I really don't know what to do. I love her from the bottom of my heart and feel it even while writing this. I feel like everything she says needs to be questioned, and she feels this and says it's not fair to her somehow and that I'm being unreasonable. I am not sure where to go from here. I am planning on fully lifting the curtain and discussing everything and seeing where that goes. I want to trust her blindly. I want pure love. But I don't know what to do anymore. Any advice would be helpful.